We're back. So this is chapter 20, and it's a really long chapter, so we'll probably have to do it in a couple of parts. And this is chapter 21. The Wizard and His Apprentice. Alex braced herself as the words from a treasury of fairy tales formed the fairy tale world around her. She had no idea what part of the fairy tale world the book would place her in, or what kind of mess she might be stepping into. So she was prepared for the worst. She just hoped she could get Peter and the Tin Woodman to the fairy council before the villain army did any damage. An overcast sky appeared above her. Green hills stretched into the horizon and were covered in boulders and stones. There was a forest of thick, mossy trees in the distance. The air was salty, and Alex could see the ocean nearby, beyond a great cliff. Alex was alone in the area, so she felt safe for the time being, but she had no idea where she was. She knew the landscape of each kingdom by heart, so she was certain she would know exactly where she was the moment she arrived. However, there was nothing about the land she recognized, and the area was an absolute mystery to her. Mother Goose and Lester also came out of Wonderland, fearing the worst. They charged into the scene with their fists and wings raised, but quickly relaxed when they saw there was no one to fight. The new environment puzzled them too, and they looked around the land curiously. "Where are we?" Mother Goose said. "I have no idea," Alex said. "I thought I'd been to every part of the fairy tale world, but I've never been to this place before." They scanned the area and looked for a clue as they waited for the Tin Woodman and Peter to step out of the beam of light. But neither a clue nor their friends presented themselves. "That's strange," Alex said. "I wonder what's keeping them." She went to the treasury, and right as she was about to poke her head inside the beam of light, it vanished. A moment later, the book burst into flames, and Alex jumped back from it. In just a few seconds, it burned into nothing but a clump of ash. "What in the world just happened?" Mother Goose asked. "They must have destroyed the treasury in Wonderland," Alex asked. "But why would they burn it?" "The Tin Woodman and Peter were supposed to follow us. The twins made their plan so fast, Alex was worried she or her brother may have misheard each other. But there was nothing that could have misled them to destroy the book. They both knew it was the Tin Woodman and Peter's way into the fairy tale world, and that the two book characters needed to convince the fairy council of their uncle's approaching army." Alex gazed at the unfamiliar land surrounding them, and a very troubling thought entered her mind. The color drained away from her face. Her knees went weak, and she fell to the ground. She was trembling, and she felt her heart beat in the pit of her stomach. "Oh no," she gasped. "Alex, what's wrong?" Mother Goose asked. "You look like you just left a small child at the grocery store." "Peter and the Tin Woodman won't be joining us in the fairy tale world because we're not in the fairy tale world," Alex said. "Mother Goose, we've been tricked. Our uncle knew we were following him and conned us into the wrong story." Mother Goose turned white, and Lester's head hung so low it almost touched the ground. They didn't want to believe it, but it did explain why neither of them recognized where they were. "Well, how the heck we get back?" Mother Goose asked. "We can't," Alex said. "The book acts as the entrance and the exit to each story. We're trapped without it." "But Connor and the others must have seen the book get destroyed," Mother Goose said. "They'll know we've been marooned." "Maybe," Alex said. "Unless something happened to them too. They could be trapped in another story for all we know." Alex broke into tears. She couldn't believe that their journey had taken such a miserable turn. They had been so careful up to this point, and now they were trapped, possibly forever. Mother Goose decided Alex was panicking enough for the both of them, so she took a deep breath and tried being positive by playing devil's advocate. "Well, there's no way of telling what happened to your brother," she said, "but it's very possible he crossed into Neverland safely, and we're worrying for nothing. And if he did, once he arrives in the fairy tale world with the others, it won't take long for them to realize something's happened to us. And if it doesn't, I have no doubt someone will find us. It might take some time, it might throw off our plan, but I promise you we won't be trapped here forever. Mother Goose pulled a handkerchief from her pocket and dried Alex's tears. Alex gave her a small smile and nodded. You're right, she sniffled. This isn't indefinite. It's just a delay. Atta girl, Mother Goose said. But since we're here, why don't we find out what here is? I certainly hope there's a tavern somewhere in this story. I'm going to need a drink. Mother Goose helped Alex to her feet, and they journeyed into the land, looking for evidence of what story they were deserted in. They walked through the forest, but it went on for miles. The trees were ancient and grew into the sky. Their roots were enormous and had completely unleveled the ground. It was making it difficult to walk over. Unfortunately, the woods were empty and offered nothing to put them at ease. Well, walking isn't doing us any good, Mother Goose said. Lester, let's see if we can find anything from the sky. Alex, you keep searching the forest. We'll be right back. She hopped on Lester's back, and they flew above the trees and disappeared into the overcast sky. Alex had a seat on a tree root while she waited. She felt herself slipping into another spiral of despair and tried to fight it off. Being upset about the situation wouldn't solve anything, but staying positive was a real challenge. Thankfully, her doubting was interrupted by a sound coming from the forest. It was footsteps, and they were headed straight toward her. Mother Goose, Alex said, is that you? The footsteps continued, but there was no sign of Mother Goose or Lester. The steps echoed through the trees, so Alex couldn't tell where they were coming from. But they were definitely getting closer. She got to her feet and looked around, hoping who or whatever the steps belonged to could help her determine their location. Alex climbed a steep mound and crashed into a man running the opposite way. They tumbled down the mound and landed on top of each other in a shallow ditch. Alex screamed, and they both quickly got to their feet. The man was tall and muscular. He wore a red shirt, a brown leather vest, and a knight's helmet. He carried a shield and a wooden sword. Forgive me, miss, he apologized, and removed his helmet to look her in the eye. Are you hurt? Alex wasn't sure. The man was so attractive, she went completely numb. The man was only a year or two older than she was. He had short, sandy blonde hair and blue eyes that Alex immediately became lost in. Miss, are you hurt? He asked again. No, I'm okay, Alex mumbled, which was all she could manage. Oh, you don't speak English. Do not fear. I come in peace, he shouted with large gestures. Not speaking English doesn't make me hard of hearing, Alex said playfully. Her remark was surprising to herself. She had just met the man she was already flirting with him. The man smiled at her. Pretty and witty, I see, he said. Alex started to blush just as a thunderous roar came from the forest. Apparently, the man had just been running from a creature, and it had just caught up with him. Alex was relieved. Hopefully, the man would just think she was blushing because she was scared. Oh, excuse me a moment, the man said, and put his helmet back on. He climbed out of the ditch, and Alex followed him. A massive black bear was standing just a few feet away from them. It raised its claws and bared its teeth. The bear roared again, and it was so loud Alex and the man almost fell back into the ditch. I'll handle this, don't worry, the man said. Alex wasn't worried at all. With just a snap of her finger, she could turn the bear into a harmless poodle if she needed to. The bear charged toward them, and the man blocked its paws with its shield. Alex sat by a tree and watched the battle. It was much more amusing than using magic. Remember, you must always be one step ahead of your enemy. Said an airy voice that resonated through the trees. Alex looked around the forest, but didn't see who or where it was coming from. Perhaps it was a spirit. The man seemed to be taking the voice's advice. He used the bear's head as a springboard and jumped into the air. He grabbed a hold of a tree branch and pulled himself into the tree. A step ahead, not on their head, the mysterious voice clarified. The bear climbed the tree after him. It tore the branches off as it went, making it impossible for the man to climb down. When in trouble, use your surroundings as a tool. The man climbed to the very top of the tree, and the bear followed. The tree bent from their weight. The man waited till the bear was right behind him and then leaped off. The bear flung into the woods like a catapult and crashed to the ground a few yards away. Alex clapped for the man, and he gave her a quick bow. The bear was furious and breathed heavily from its flared nostrils. It got to its feet and charged after him. Use your opponent's anger against them. Taunt them until they're blind with rage. The man zigzagged between the trees and kicked dirt into the bear's eyes as it chased him. The bear was blinded and pawed its eyes to get the dirt out. The man ran toward it, about to strike it with its wooden sword. Never be fooled by false injuries. The bear suddenly opened its eyes and knocked the man across the woods. He landed by the tree Alex was seated on. Are you a knight or something? Alex asked. The man pulled himself up to a seated position beside her. Or something, he said. I don't think you're going to win this fight with a wooden sword, Alex said with a cheeky grin. You need a hand? Oh, of course not, the man said, insulted she would even ask. The bear is exactly where I want him. This isn't the first beast I've slaughtered. The bear was running straight for them, coming in for the kill. It might be your last, Alex said. The man pointed his wooden sword at the bear, but it might as well have been a toothpick. The bear ran so fast, nothing was going to stop it. Most importantly, never involve innocent people in your dueling. The mysterious voice was mysteriously interrupted. Just as the bear was about to pounce on the man and Alex, metal chains wrapped around the bear's body and pulled it inside a large cage that magically appeared behind it. The man took off his helmet and stared in amazement. Are you seeing this too, or did I hit my head? Alex was just as surprised as he was. Her magic wasn't trapping the bear. This enchantment was coming from someone else. A gust of wind came from above them, and they looked up from the sky. Mother Goose and Lester descended into the forest and landed beside the caged bear. I leave you alone for 5 minutes and you almost got clawed to death by a bear, Mother Goose said. I could have handled it if I was worried, Alex said. Mother Goose hopped down from Lester's back. The man quickly got to his feet and looked back and forth between the old woman and the large bird. It wasn't every day saw a person flying on the back of a giant goose. Lester and I didn't see anything but more trees from the sky. Hey, who's the heartthrob? Mother Goose asked when she noticed the man. We haven't been formally introduced, Alex said, and turned to him. I'm Alex. These are my friends, Mother Goose and Lester. Pleased to meet you, cutie, Mother Goose said and winked at him. Pleasure, the man said with a polite smile. My name is Arthur, and the bear you just chained up is actually my friend Merlin. Alex and Mother Goose weren't sure they heard him correctly and looked to the other to confirm it. Did he say Merlin? They asked together. Whoosh! A whirlwind of dirt and leaves surrounded the caged bear, and the beast disappeared. An old man with a long silver beard and thick silver eyebrows appeared in its place. He wore glasses, a blue robe, and a matching pointed hat. He stared down at his arms and legs in bewilderment. Madam, that was one brilliant enchantment, Merlin said, and applauded Mother Goose. I've never seen someone enchant something so effortlessly. Mother Goose batted her eyes. Well, when you've been enchanting for as long as I have, you get lots of practice, she snickered. Merlin took off his hat, exposing his bald head, and bowed to her. It's a great pleasure to make your acquaintance, he said, and kissed her hand. You are a goddess of sorcery. Mother Goose blushed at the compliment, even more than Alex had earlier. Lester rolled his eyes and looked away. Alex couldn't believe what she was seeing and hearing. Were these really the legendary characters of King Arthur standing before her? She had to clarify it before they went any further. Hold on a second, Alex said. Are you the Arthur and Merlin, as in Camelot? Shh! Merlin shushed her and quickly covered Arthur's ears. The boy doesn't know about that yet? You're going to give it away. I'm having a hard enough time keeping him focused on combat lessons. Wait a moment. How do you know about Camelot? Alex and Mother Goose went quiet. They didn't know what to tell him. Merlin was a wizard, after all. He might understand the truth if they gave it to him. Arthur looked at Alex and Mother Goose with a curious smile. Can you predict the future like Merlin? Come again? Mother Goose asked. Merlin is training me to be the next king of England, Arthur explained. He says he's certain I'll be the king in the future because he's prophesied it, although I've never met anyone else who believes it. Well, he's right, Alex said, and received a dirty look from the wizard. Sorry, Merlin, I didn't mean to give anything away. Arthur's eyes lit up. So it's true, he said. I really am going to be king? You must be wizards too. Technically, I'm a fairy, Alex said, and Mother Goose is, well, I'm not really sure what to call her. Experienced, Mother Goose said. I've never been into labels, and I don't want to burst your bubble, Artie, but we can't predict the future. People are just very knowledgeable where we come from. We're practically from a different world, Alex said with nervous laughter. Avalon, Merlin asked. No, we're literally from a different world, Mother Goose said. Oh, France, Merlin said and nodded confidently. Alex and Mother Goose sighed. Perhaps Merlin just wouldn't understand after all. We're from a different dimension, Alex said, giving it one last try. I know it's hard to believe, but we're trapped in this world until someone figures out where we are and rescues us. Merlin and Arthur shared the same fascinated look, the kind of expression Alex was used to people making once they understood. And what dimension might that be? Merlin asked. Wait, you believe me? You don't think I totally sound insane? She asked. You don't sound mad at all, Arthur said. Merlin always said the universe is more complex than we realize, and you're proving it. What do you call your dimension? Well, there's two, actually, Alex explained. There's the other world, and there's a fairy tale world. I suppose we're from both, but I should probably stop while I'm ahead. It's a long and complicated story. Alex was worried for nothing. The wizard and his apprentice seemed very excited by what she was telling them. Meeting Alex and Mother Goose was the most thrilling thing that had happened to them in a while. Well, you both must join us for tea. And I won't take no for an answer, Merlin said. We want to hear everything about your world, or worlds, and how you found your way into ours. Alex and Mother Goose didn't have a reason to object. Being stranded means their schedule was clear. And they had never had tea with a wizard before. Merlin offered Mother Goose's arm, and she linked it with her own. Arthur offered Alex his arm, too, and the men escorted the women, and Lester, through the woods to Merlin's home. So we're going to take a break there, and I'm going to continue reading, but we'll have to take a break and come back for a second part, okay? So see you in a second.